Knowing people who are on Ritalin isn't enough. You should be a little bit more responsible in knowing
I'm not prescribing Ritalin.
How fun is it to shoot something like that?
Well, I'm barely in it. I'm in it for about 3 seconds.
Yeah, but still, you showed up and you had fun, right?
Almost.
Sometimes the biggest shocks in show business don't come from stage performances or movie premieres. They come from those raw, unfiltered moments when celebrities lose their cool. Whether it's an unexpected insult in the spotlight or a tense exchange that sends everyone reeling, these real-life clashes show us a glimpse of who these stars might be when the cameras are off. From abrupt verbal takedowns to painfully awkward interviews, let's dive into some of the most uncomfortable on-camera celebrity moments ever caught on film. Sir Patrick Stewart versus James Corden. It all began at a seemingly harmless awards ceremony in front of a polished crowd. Sir Patrick Stewart, known for his classic roles and gentlemanly persona, decided he'd had enough of James Corden's hosting style. While presenting an award, Stewart made comments about how Corden stood during the announcements, implying he looked bored and unimpressed.
When the presenters are up here and when the recipients are receiving their awards, don't stand at the back of the stage with your hands in your pockets, looking around as though you wished you were anywhere but here.
Oh, you couldn't be more wrong, sir. You couldn't be more wrong. Oh, genuinely. And if it looked like that, I'm so sorry. But when you come up and present an award, just get on with it. There we go.
The tension was immediate. Audiences had come expecting witty banter, but instead, they got a slow-boiling confrontation. Corden tried to laugh off Stewart's remarks, but the legendary actor wasn't backing down. The mood shifted from playful to uncomfortable in a heartbeat. Stewart's calm but pointed language contrasted with Corden's half-joking, half-annoyed attempts at a rebuttal. The silence in the room was deafening, as everyone realized this wasn't the usual staged ribbing. At one point, Stewart even joked about Corden's physique, which pushed the comedian to snap back with an equally sarcastic dig.
Where I was sitting, I can see your belly. And that was right over there at the back of the room. These people down here,
Sorry, I'm waiting for the punchline. Go on. No, seriously, go on.
Okay.
No, go on. You can see my belly, and we can all see you dying right now. Let's go for it. Here we go.
What could have been a 5-second playful exchange became an embarrassing standoff that overshadowed the actual purpose of the event. It served as a reminder that sometimes, even the most seasoned professionals can't hide their real feelings when the spotlight gets too hot. But that was just the beginning. Celebrity awkwardness knows no bounds. Gordon Ramsay and Sofia Vergara. Few chefs are as famously blunt as Gordon Ramsay. His brash remarks might be entertaining in a kitchen setting, but during a talk show appearance alongside Sofia Vergara, that signature attitude sparked genuine discomfort. The moment started off lighthearted, with Vergara explaining a skit they'd done together and how intense her reactions were for comedic effect.
I never screamed like that in real life, I was all acting.
Only in the bedroom? And you seem like you're enjoying that. You had a whole wedge in your mouth at any one time?
Yes, I have.
You haven't heard of a knife and fork? No?
You don't eat pizza with a knife and a fork.
You just pick it up and stick it in?
Of course, you have to take it like...
Ramsay, however, quickly took things up a notch, not just teasing her about her performance, but also making jokes that bordered on personal digs.
My son is a very good cook.
Your son?
Yes, my son. Manolo.
Manolo.
Yeah.
Manolo. No.
He's 19.
19 Manolo.
Yeah. Manolo.
Okay. Can you change that name?
Can I what?
No. Manolo, what does it mean? What does it
Nothing.
means
Colombian
caramel dessert.
Manolo is just a Hispanic name. Not everything needs a meaning.
Oh, really?
Yes,
No.
that's correct.
Right.
It sounds like a paint.
Yeah.
Okay, this is my interview.
Yeah.
Don't you worry about me. Don't you worry about me.
Come on.
What began as standard talk show banter soon turned sour when Ramsay made remarks about Vergara's son and even got a bit handsy for the sake of humor. The actress's discomfort was obvious. She shifted in her seat, offered nervous laughter, and tried to redirect the conversation. Yet Ramsay persisted, pushing the comedic envelope until that comedic tension became a real issue. The crowd's laughter gave way to uneasy shifting, making the segment feel more like a cringe-worthy train wreck than a fun interview. It was a stark example of how crossing lines, even under the pretense of a joke, can result in moments that live on in talk show infamy. But Ramsey certainly isn't the only star to overstep boundaries on camera. There's an unsettling side to Hollywood that few expect to see out in the open. Bill Cosby's disturbing comments. Long before controversies surrounding him dominated headlines, Bill Cosby managed to make people uncomfortable in a very different setting. During Sofia Vergara's first-ever talk show appearance, he unleashed a slew of remarks that sounded invasive and inappropriate. He praised her appearance in a way that felt less complimentary and more predatory, zeroing in on her looks instead of her talent.
What you have on tonight is wonderful. This is wonderful. And when you walked out, many people became attentive. Men look at you and they think only of sin. You make me feel young again.
Given everything that's come to light in later years, those offhand comments feel far more chilling now. The tension in that room was palpable even then, as Vergara forced a smile and tried to keep things courteous. It was a startling reminder of how easily a friendly interview can cross over into disturbing territory when a celebrity's words and intentions don't match the public's expectations.
You make me feel very excited.
While Cosby himself would go on to face much bigger scandals, this interview stands as proof that uncomfortable moments can offer tiny glimpses of deeper issues simmering beneath the surface. But not every on-camera clash is subtle. Sometimes blunt honesty sends shockwaves through an entire room, and no one wields bluntness quite like Ricky Gervais. Ricky Gervais roasting Hollywood. Ricky Gervais loves to push buttons, and nowhere is that more evident than when he's hosting award shows. In one particularly memorable moment, he told celebrities bluntly to keep their political opinions to themselves.
If you do win an award tonight, don't use it as a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Come up, accept your little award, thank your agent and your God, and okay?
Instead of feeding into the usual Hollywood self-congratulation, Gervais cut straight to the point. He called out big names for lecturing the public while living privileged lives, provoking gasps and uneasy laughter in equal measure. Whether you find him hilarious or painfully cynical, Gervais forces the room to confront its own vanity. In that moment, the tension felt almost electric. Some stars nodded in agreement, others looked ready to walk out. No matter your viewpoint, the directness of his words stung, and the discomfort was so thick you could sense it rippling through the audience. Still, celebrities aren't the only ones at risk of being roasted. When famous people open up about deeply personal beliefs, it can backfire spectacularly, and that's where Tom Cruise enters the picture. Tom Cruise versus Matt Lauer. If there's one conversation that sent shockwaves through daytime television, it was Tom Cruise's showdown with Matt Lauer over psychiatry and antidepressants. The Mission Impossible star didn't hold back, vehemently condemning medication while labeling it unnecessary. The real friction ignited when Lauer tried challenging Cruise's stance, referencing actress Brooke Shields' experience. Cruise dug in further, dismissing Lauer's understanding as glib and insisting there was no such thing as a chemical imbalance.
I've never agreed with psychiatry, ever. There is no such thing as a chemical imbalance.
So postpartum depression to you is
Matt,
kind of a little psychological gobbledygook?
No, I did not say that.
I'm just asking, what would you call it?
Matt, that is the post. Now you're talking about two different things. That's not what I'm saying. That's an alteration of what I'm saying. I'm saying that drugs aren't the answer.
This wasn't a typical polite disagreement. Cruise's frustration boiled over, transforming a fairly routine interview into a heated clash that left viewers stunned. On one hand, you had a TV host attempting to keep the discussion balanced. On the other, an A-list celebrity determined to preach his beliefs.
If antidepressants work for Brooke Shields, why isn't that okay?
I disagree with it. And I think that there's a higher and better quality of life. And I think that promoting, for me personally, see, you're saying, what, I can't discuss what I want to discuss?
No, you absolutely can.
But Matt, you're going in and saying that I can't discuss that.
I'm only asking, isn't there a possibility that, do you examine the possibility that these things do work for some people. But aren't there examples where it works?
Matt, you're glib. You don't even know what Ritalin is. If you start talking about chemical imbalance, you have to evaluate and read the research papers on how they came up with these theories, Matt. Okay? That's what I've done. And you go and you say, where's the medical test? Where's the blood test that says how much Ritalin you're supposed to get?
It's very impressive to listen to you because clearly you've done the homework and you know the subject.
And you should. And you should do that also because just knowing people who are on Ritalin isn't enough. You should be a little bit more responsible in knowing
I'm not prescribing Ritalin.
The tension was so intense that it felt like the interview might derail entirely. Yet, Cruise isn't alone in going head-to-head with talk show hosts. Sometimes it's the hosts themselves who take things too far, pushing guests toward emotional meltdowns. David Letterman's risky tactics. David Letterman has conducted countless interviews, many of which are comedic gold, but there have been times when his approach veered into uncomfortable territory. Actress Lindsay Lohan, for instance, found herself cornered when Letterman repeatedly pressed her about rehab, ignoring her pleas to focus on her latest movie project.
Aren't you supposed to be in rehab now?
Do you not watch anything that goes on?
I do.
Tabloid now?
Now here's what
May 2nd.
I was under the May 2nd.
Yes.
And how long will you be in rehab?
3 months.
How many times have you been in rehab?
Several.
And how will this time be different? What are they rehabbing, first of all? What is on their list? What are they going to work on when you walk through the door?
We didn't discuss this in the pre-interview.
No. When you go to the rehab, what do they do?
We're here for a movie.
We have to what?
Let's stay on the positive. Aside from that side of the positive.
Yeah. All right.
Come on now.
No, okay, we'll talk about the movie.
I've been here since I was 7.
You have to be in rehab May 2nd. Are you going to be there? You'll be there, right? Who's taking you to rehab? You don't want to talk about that either, right?
The star, visibly on the brink of tears, tried to steer the conversation away from her personal struggles, but Letterman kept pushing. The studio audience giggled nervously, aware they were witnessing something that felt less like an interview and more like a verbal ambush. A similar dynamic played out with Paris Hilton. She was under the impression that Letterman wouldn't bring up her time in jail, yet the late-night host dove into it the moment he could. When Paris tried redirecting attention to her new projects, he refused to let the subject drop.
Have your friends treated you differently since you've been out of the slammer?
No. People think that I was really strong, that I went through it, so.
God, it was just ugly, wasn't it? Have you made...
But I've moved on with my life, so I don't really want to talk about it anymore.
I know. This is where you and I are different, because this is all I want to talk about. Did you make any friends while you were in jail?
I'm not answering any more questions.
No more questions about
I'm
jail?
here for my clothing line and my movie and my perfume. I'm not here to talk about that.
That interview remains infamous for how quickly Paris went from calm to visibly irritated, reminding everyone that talk show agreements can be broken in a split second, leaving guests feeling betrayed and exposed. Kanye West's explosive argument with Sway. If you're looking for raw intensity, Kanye West's radio meltdown with Sway Calloway fits the bill perfectly. The conversation began on a casual note about Kanye's creative ventures, but tension simmered beneath the surface. When Sway calmly suggested that Kanye might try a more independent route for his fashion lines, the rapper erupted. He accused Sway of not having the answers, yelling over him with repeated statements that Sway lacked the expertise to comment.
Or why don't you empower yourself and don't need them and do it yourself?
How, Sway?
Take a few steps back to go.
You ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers. You ain't got the answers. You ain't got the answers, Sway.
Kanye.
I've been doing this more than you.
Doing what
You ain't got.
Come on, chill out.
You
bro.
ain't got the answers.
Kanye,
you ain't got the answers.
I'm asking you.
You
a
ain't been doing the education,
bro.
What started as a simple conversation between two industry insiders became a volatile shouting match, riddled with personal jabs. Sway, for his part, tried to hold his ground, pointing out his own experiences and urging Kanye to remain civil. The chaos that followed showcased just how quickly a seemingly respectful dialogue can go off the rails when egos collide and tempers flare. That kind of intensity can make for unforgettable live moments, but it can also highlight just how fragile professional relationships can be on camera. Hugh Grant's uncomfortable red carpet moment. An event like the Oscars usually brings out the glamour in everyone, but when Hugh Grant gave short, dismissive answers to questions from Ashley Graham on the red carpet, The mood got icy fast. Graham was clearly trying to keep things light, asking him about his excitement for the evening and his cameo in Glass Onion. Grant, however, responded with curt, almost indifferent replies. At one point, she tried to salvage the moment by pressing on about the filming experience, only for Grant to say he was barely in it. The entire exchange fell flat, leaving both the interviewer and viewers at home cringing.
What are you most excited to see tonight?
To see?
Yeah, well, I know that you probably watched a few of the movies. Are you excited to see anybody win? Do you have your hopes up for anyone?
No one in particular.
So tell me, what does it feel like to be in Glass Onion? It was such an amazing film. I really loved it. I love a thriller. How fun is it to shoot something like that?
Well, I'm barely in it. I'm in it for about 3 seconds.
Yeah, but still, you showed up and you had fun, right?
Almost.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Red carpet interviews tend to be cheerful and predictable, yet Grant's frosty demeanor took everyone by surprise. The tension stood out even more than a typical verbal sparring match. Sometimes a lack of enthusiasm can be just as shocking as an all-out argument. But that's the unpredictability of live coverage. You never truly know how a celebrity will respond under 100 flashing cameras. From abrupt outbursts that left audiences gasping to subtle but unsettling moments that hinted at deeper, off-camera tensions, these uncomfortable celebrity encounters reveal a side of fame we rarely get to see. Behind the curated social media feeds and the polished award acceptance speeches, even the biggest stars can lose their composure and let loose with raw, unscripted honesty. It's this unfiltered glimpse that keeps viewers glued to their screens. After all, there's something undeniably fascinating about watching icons of entertainment unravel in real time. Whether it's a small quip that spirals into a heated feud, or a pointed interview question that peels back a celebrity's poised exterior, these scenarios remind us that fame isn't a shield against human emotion. In fact, it might just amplify it. The next time you see a talk show or a red carpet broadcast, pay attention to those tiny cues. The rigid posture, the forced laugh, or the sudden shift in tone. These are often the sparks that ignite the most memorable television moments. And if these real-life clashes prove anything, it's that when the cameras roll, the truth can slip out in the most dramatic ways possible. So keep watching, keep analyzing, and keep digging. Because in a world where everything is supposed to be carefully managed, the raw reactions and tense exchanges often reveal more about these stars than any scripted performance ever could. If you enjoyed this glimpse behind the curtain, stick around. There's always another candid moment lurking just off stage, waiting for the perfect moment to make us all gasp in secondhand embarrassment.